The site of the Treasure Stupa. At that time, a stupa of the 7 precious materials, 500 leagues high and 250 leagues wide and deep, sprang up from the earth in front of the Buddha and stood in the air. It was decorated with all kinds of valuable things. It had 5,000 railings, tens of millions of niche-like spaces open to the outside, and it was decorated with countless banners and flags. Garlands of jewels hung from it, and tens of thousands of millions of jeweled bells were suspended from it. From its 4 sides came the fragrance of Tamalapatra sandalwood, filling the whole world. All its banners and canopies were composed of the 7 precious materials: gold, silver, lapis lazuli, seashell, agate, pearl, and carnelian. The 33 gods rained down mandarava flowers from heaven as offerings to the Treasure Stupa. Humans and non-humans, all these tens of millions of billions of beings made offerings to the stupa, with all kinds of flowers, incense garlands, streamers, canopies, and music, revering, honoring, and praising it. Then, from the midst of the Treasure Stupa, came a loud voice of praise, saying, well done, world-honored Sakyamuni. For the sake of the great assembly, you are able to teach the wonderful Dharma Flower Sutra of great impartial wisdom, the Dharma by which bodhisattvas are taught and which Buddhas protect and keep in mind. It is just as you say, world-honored Sakyamuni. All that you say is true. Then the 4 groups, seeing the great Treasure Stupa in the air and hearing the voice that came from the stupa, were filled with joy in the Dharma and with wonder at these unprecedented things. They got up from their seats and, reverently putting their palms together, withdrew to one side. Meanwhile, a bodhisattva great one, named Great Delight in Preaching, perceiving uncertainty in the minds of the human and heavenly beings, asuras, and others of all the worlds, spoke to the Buddha, saying, world-honored one, for what reason has this Treasure Stupa sprung out of the earth, and this voice come from within it? Then the Buddha told Great Delight in Preaching Bodhisattva, in this Treasure Stupa there is the whole body of the Tathagata. Once in the past, innumerable tens of millions of billions of countless worlds to the east, in a land named Treasure Purity, there was a Buddha named Abundant Treasures. When that Buddha was originally practicing the Bodhisattva way, he made a great vow, saying, after I become a Buddha, and then extinct, if there is a place in any land in the universe where the Dharma Flower Sutra is taught, in order that I may listen to it, my stupa will appear there, bearing testimony to the sutra and praising it, saying, well done. When that Buddha had finished the Buddha way, his extinction approaching, in the midst of a great assembly of human and heavenly beings, he said to the monks, after my extinction, if anyone wants to make offerings to my whole body, they should put up a great stupa. Thus, throughout all the worlds of the universe, in any place at all where someone teaches the Dharma Flower Sutra, by his divine powers and the power of his vow, that Buddha has his Treasure Stupa, containing his whole body, appear before them, and praises the sutra, saying, well done, well done. Great Delight in Preaching, it is because just now the Tathagata Abundant Treasures heard the Dharma Flower Sutra being taught that his stupa sprang up from the earth, bearing praise and saying, well done, well done. Then great delight in preaching Bodhisattva, because of the divine powers of the Tathagata, said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, we want to see this Buddha's body." The Buddha said to great delight in preaching Bodhisattva, the Great One, "This Buddha, abundant treasures, has taken a profound vow, saying, 'When my treasure stupa appears in the presence of one of the Buddhas so that I can hear the Dharma Flower Sutra, if someone wants me to show my body to the four groups, let the Buddhas who are embodiments of that Buddha and are preaching the Dharma in the worlds of the 10 directions return together and assemble in one place. Then my body will appear.' Thus, great delight in preaching, I must now assemble the Buddhas who are my embodiments and are preaching the Dharma in all the worlds." Great delight in preaching replied to the Buddha, "World-honored one, we would also like to see the Buddhas who embody you, and worship and make offerings to them." Then the Buddha emitted a beam of light from the tuft of white hair, immediately making visible all the Buddhas in 5,000,000 billion myriads of lands. All those lands had crystal for their ground, and were adorned with jeweled trees and jeweled robes. They were filled with countless tens of millions of billions of bodhisattvas. Jeweled awnings were hung there, and nets of jewels were overhead. All the Buddhas in those lands preached various teachings with great, wonderful voices, and innumerable tens of millions of billions of bodhisattvas were also seen there, filling those lands and teaching the Dharma for the multitude. Then each of the Buddhas in the 10 directions spoke to his multitudes of bodhisattvas, saying, "Good sons, now we have to go to Sakyamuni Buddha's world and make offerings to the treasure stupa of the Tathagata abundant treasures." Then those Buddhas, each bringing a great bodhisattva as his attendant, arrived at this world and went to the foot of a jeweled tree. Each of the jeweled trees was 500 leagues high, adorned with branches, leaves, flowers, and fruit. Under each of those jeweled trees was a lion's seat, 5 leagues high, also decorated with large jewels. Then the Buddhas went to those seats and sat cross-legged on them. Then all the Buddhas, each seated on a lion's seat under a jeweled tree, sent their attendants, each with a handful of precious flowers, to make inquiries of Sakyamuni Buddha, telling them, "Good sons, go to Holy Eagle Peak, where Sakyamuni Buddha is, and say to him, as I am instructing you, 'Are your illnesses and troubles few? In spirit and energy are you well? And are your bodhisattvas and shravakas at peace?' Then, making offerings to the Buddha by sprinkling these precious flowers before him, and say this, 'Such and such a Buddha would like to have this treasure stupa opened.' All the Buddhas sent their attendants in this way. Then Sakyamuni Buddha, seeing the Buddhas who embodied him assembled together, each seated on a lion's seat, and hearing that those Buddhas all wanted the treasure stupa to be opened, immediately got up from his seat and went up into the air. All 4 groups stood up, put their palms together, and gazed at the Buddha in rapt attention. Then Sakyamuni Buddha opened the door of the stupa of the 7 precious materials with the fingers of his right hand. From the stupa there came a great sound, like the withdrawing of the bar when the gate to a great city is opened. Suddenly, the whole congregation saw the Tathagata abundant treasures on a lion's seat on the treasure stupa, with his whole body in one piece, sitting as though he were in meditation. And they heard him say, well done, Sakyamuni Buddha. You have preached this Dharma Flower Sutra gladly, which is what I have come to this place to hear." Then the 4 groups, seeing the Buddha who had passed away and had been extinct for innumerable tens of millions of billions of eons, speak such words as these, praising such an unprecedented event, scattered heaps of precious flowers from heaven on Abundant Treasures Buddha and on Sakyamuni Buddha. Abundant Treasures Buddha offered half his seat within the treasured stupa to Sakyamuni Buddha, saying, "Sakyamuni Buddha, take this seat." Then Sakyamuni Buddha entered the stupa, took half the seat, and sat with folded legs. Seeing the two Tathagatas sitting with folded legs on the lion seat in the stupa of the seven precious materials, those in the great assembly then thought, "The Buddhas are sitting high and far away. It would be good if the Tathagatas would use their divine powers to enable all of us to be up in the air." Immediately, Sakyamuni Buddha used his divine powers to bring all of the great assembly to where he was up in the air. In a loud voice, he addressed all the four groups, saying, "Who is able to teach the wonderful Dharma Flower Sutra everywhere throughout this world? Now indeed is the time. Before long the Tathagata will enter Nirvana. So that it will last forever, the Buddha wants to entrust this wonderful Dharma Flower Sutra to someone." Then the world-honored one, wanting to say what he meant once again, spoke in verse. "This holy Lord, world-honored one, though long extinct, sits in his treasure stupa and comes here for the sake of the Dharma. How then can anyone not be dutiful for the sake of the Dharma? This Buddha passed away countless eons ago, yet in place after place he listens to the Dharma, because such chances are rare. This Buddha's original vow was, 'After my extinction, wherever I go, wherever I am, it will always be to hear the Dharma.' And my embodiments, Buddhas as numerable as the sands of the Ganges, have come to hear the Dharma and to see the extinct, abundant treasures Tathagata. Leaving his wonderful land and a multitude of disciples, human and heavenly beings and dragon gods, and all their offerings to him, each has come to this place so that the Dharma may live for a long time. One by one, the Buddhas have gone under the jewel trees. They are like lotus flowers, decorating a clear and cool pond. Under those jewel trees, seated on the lion seats, the Buddhas are brilliant and resplendent. Just as in the darkness of night, great torches burn brightly, from them comes a wonderful fragrance spreading over all the lands. Living beings, showered in this fragrance, are beside themselves with joy. To this great assembly I ask, after my extinction, who can receive and embrace, read and recite this sutra? Let them come before the Buddha now and declare their vow." This abundant treasures, though he passed away long ago, in accord with his great vow, roars like a lion. The Tathagata abundant treasures, and I myself, and the assembled Buddhas embodying me, certainly know this intention. If anyone is able to keep the Dharma, they should make a great vow so that it may live for a long time. One who is able to keep this Sutra Dharma has already made offerings to me and to abundant treasures. This abundant treasures Buddha, living in the treasure stupa, is always willing to go anywhere for the sake of this sutra. One who keeps this sutra also has made offerings to all the Buddhas embodying me assembled here, who adorn and make resplendent all the worlds. Anyone who teaches this sutra will be able to see me and the Tathagata abundant treasures, and also the Buddhas embodying me. All my good sons and good daughters should carefully consider this. This is a difficult task, requiring the making of a great vow. If one taught all the other sutras, numerous as the sands of the Ganges, that would not really be difficult. But after the Buddha's extinction, in the midst of an evil age, if someone teaches this sutra, that indeed will be difficult. But after my extinction, if someone copies and keeps this sutra, or causes others to copy it, this indeed will be difficult. If someone reads this sutra aloud for even a moment, this indeed will be difficult. If anyone embraces this sutra and preaches it even to one person, this indeed will be difficult. If one embraced the storehouse of 84,000 teachings and the 12 divisions of the sutras and preached them to others, leading those who hear to gain the 6 divine powers, even if one could do all this, that would not be difficult. But after my extinction, if anyone hears and accepts this sutra and inquires about its meaning, this indeed will be difficult. If one taught the Dharma and led tens of millions of billions of countless innumerable beings, as many as the sands of the Ganges, to become arhats with the 6 divine powers, even if one conferred such benefits, that would not be difficult. But after my extinction, if anyone is able to honor and embrace such a sutra as this, that indeed will be difficult. For the sake of the Buddha way, in innumerable lands, from the beginning until now, I have taught many sutras everywhere. Among them all, this sutra is the most excellent. Anyone who is able to embrace it embraces the body of the Buddha. Good sons and good daughters, after my extinction, who will be able to receive and embrace, read and recite this sutra? Let them come before the Buddha now and declare their vow. This sutra is so difficult to embrace. If anyone embraces it, even for a short time, I will be pleased, and so will all the Buddhas. Someone who can do this will be praised by all the Buddhas. Such a one will attain quickly the unexcelled Buddha way.